Hello again, old school metal vinyl lunatics. Welcome back to the channel after a 2 weeks long absence. Due to the fact that I no longer collect vinyl, I collect colds instead. I've been hit by a couple of very nasty viruses which turned my voice into Donald Duck's, and just like that, I was not able to upload new content, but here we are again in full force, ready to strike back with an episode dedicated to Sabbat and Japanese metal. Now, Japanese metal, I must admit I'm not the most knowledgeable person around when it comes to this local sub-scene. Sabbath next to Loudness, Terror Squad, Ritual Carnage, and Metal Lucifer, which is basically a Sabbath side project, is basically all I know about metal from the land of the rising sun. So all my fellow Japanese followers, please apologies. But do I have any Japanese followers at all? I highly doubt so. Let's start by saying that Sabat was indeed the very first extreme metal band from that side of the world. They formed in 1983 as Evil and later on switched their name to Sabbat, which is the moniker they're still going by these days, which means 4 decades into metal. That commands some respect. First release ever was the 7 inches EP, published in 1985. It was a small thing, totally self-produced, self-titled, and limited to 300 copies, which now sells for heaps of money. By that meaning, digits kind of prices, which is like the price of gold. But yeah, it's impossible to find. The very first debut LP, better said CD, came out in 1989 on the very same label, self-produced, Evil Records, and was later on released on vinyl in 1999 thanks to Iron Pegasus Records. The label by Kostas Stoyos. Now, let me spend a couple of words of appreciation for Iron Pegasus Records, which is one of those labels that kind of saved the metal from extinction. It's not too daring to say so, because back in the late 90s, this traditional form of heavy metal, very conservative, rooted in, this traditional new wave of British heavy metal sound, was no longer appealing. Most of the scene consisted of like Scandinavian black metal clones for the most part back in the day. And Costa said like, fuck to that, I'm gonna stick to the kind of music that I personally like. And he kept pushing the underground and released a number of albums which have since then achieved the cult status, and deservedly so. The guy at some point even signed Ghost, which is now probably the biggest metal band in the world, which really means something and tells you something about the dedication of this guy. So props to Costa for his dedication to the scene and for giving us so many heavy metal gems. The guy also had a very admirable anti-fascist attitude, which is a definite plus. And on top of that, he's also the editor of the legendary Tales of the Macabre zine, which is one of the best zines ever. Now, technically speaking, this release suffers from the fact that it's a product of its times, namely, it was pressed at GZ, the infamous pressing plant from the Czech Republic, which results in a flimsy cover and vinyl that attracts dust. Is basically a magnet for dust. I don't dare to keep it, to take it out of the jacket, because otherwise I will have to clean it again. This copy, mind you, has just been sold, and it's limited to 333 copies. Now, musically speaking, if you're not familiar with the band, imagine a crazy mixture between traditional British heavy metal, say Iron Maiden or Judas Priest, meets early Slayer, meets Venom, add a dash of destruction and some frantic, hilariously high-pitched crazy vocals to the mix, and that's Sabbath's recipe to metal. Now, truth be told, this band might not be the most original music around, in the sense that if you listen to their music carefully, you will find out that a lot of their riffs have been stolen. There is a couple of tracks, for instance, Scared of the Blood and maybe Poison Child, whose main riff is a blatant steal from the exploited Scottish legendary punk band Ripoff. So yeah, I would say perhaps not the band reinvented the wheel, but still I would consider myself a moderate Sabbath fan, in the sense that I kind of like some of their stuff, not everything they released. I would say that their songwriting somehow lacks consistency. Like on the Envenom album, like there's a very cool song, "Satan Bless You." The opener is very very nice. Eviler, whatever that means, their odd interpretation of the English language is horribly butchered and never ceases to amaze me, as well as My Own Seal, which is a bonus track taken from the 7-inch EP. All these songs are definitely very, very good ones. But on the opposite side of the deal, we have totally terrible songs like Devil Worship and The Sixth Candle, King of Hell, especially, which just drags on and on and on and makes the listening experience absolutely unbearable for me. I would say like Sabbath is one of those bands that perhaps work better on mini LPs and 7-inch EP than they do on full-length album. They're extremely good at what they're doing well, but extremely bad at what they're doing worse, if that makes any sense to you. You know, it's one of those bands that's when they hit the nail right on the head, they are brilliant, and when they do things wrong, they're just unbearable. This is the first LP, again, the first pressing. I'm sure you can find the repressings that the kind lad that Nuclear Poop now put out in all the colors that God could think of for, I would say, acceptable prices. This one sold for €60, which is, I would say, pretty okay. But yeah, the reissues are readily available for normal prices. Now, if you're not familiar with the band, this is my favorite release by them. It's actually a compilation album, which compiles all the stuff they released in the first 5 inches EPs, the one from 1985, which I already mentioned, the Born by Evil Blood, the Desecration one, as well as the Devil's Sperm is called from 1989. I wonder why this doesn't include the 7 Deadly Sins EP, which I once owned and miserably sold for close to nothing. Stupid me. But yeah, if you're not familiar with the band, this is probably a compilation of the best Sabbath songs. The early days, definitely the peak of the band in terms of artistical quality. This one is up for grabs in case you want to propose me a deal. Evoke, not exactly Sabbath's brightest moment. It's their second album. This is the first vinyl repress by Hells at Bangers, one of my least favorite Sabbath albums. Next to The Dwelling, which I never really managed to get into because of its length. It's like one song lasting to 45 minutes, not exactly the kind of format I'm mostly fond of. Then we have this compilation album to praise the Sabbatical Queen. All the LPs you're seeing right now are for sale. You have Sabbath Trinity, which is one of the latest studio albums. No, this is not Sabbath Trinity. This is, I stand corrected, this is Karmax Massacre. Sabbath Trinity is the one you're seeing right now in my hands. Another gate for release. All of these are courtesy of Iron Pegasus Records. Black Up Your Soul is, I believe, I can't remember if it was a live album or a compilation. I believe it's a compilation album, including always the same songs. For some reason, every compilation album that Sabbath puts out has My Own Seal, Blackfire, Darkness and Evil. Like this, the band should consider like giving some more variety to their choice of tracks when it comes to compilation albums. Charisma, another pretty cool Sabbath album. And then we have the only live album by the band which I still own. I used to own the 666 live Japanese Harmageddon, which was a full-length LP EP. The Armageddon series is like a series of 7 inches EP which they released in the early 2000s, and somehow the Japanese version ended up being a full live album, limited to 300 copies. Owned one, sold it, regretted it, tried to acquire it, and failed to do so. And just like that, I decided to go for the Live Curse album, which is a very cool release. 99 copies only, 87 is my copy. It's a recording of one of the very first Sabbath concerts ever. It includes a booklet. I was looking for it, took it out of the jacket, and really nice bootleg, including some pretty cringe pictures of the band from the early days, pretty detailed and lengthy interview, which I don't want to go through because their English gives me the headache. Again, more pictures of the band from the early days, some lyrics here and there. Definitely a cool release. Got this one for €40 when it was released. Nowadays it's of course way pricier than that. Then you have the Fetishism double LP, another solid Sabbath release, as well as Disembody, which is among my Sabbath fave moments, and For Satan and Sacrifice, which is another compilation again. Satan's Word is the last album you're seeing in this video. All of these are for sale. You might have noticed that these are all full-length albums, the studio recordings basically, because one of my problems with this band is that they put out way too much stuff. At some point they decided it was a cool idea to, like saturate the market with a plethora of 7 inches split albums, live albums and whatnot, which made me lose my interest in the band. If I have to believe Discogs, there's like 244 official releases by the band. Now, who in his right state of mind needs 244 Sabbath releases? That's why I decided to just stick to the full-length albums, which are the ones I'm selling. Again, Envenom is sold, everything else is up for grabs, so feel free to get in touch with some offer and we'll discuss a deal. So, just like that, this episode is over. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this band. Do you really think they are as derivative as I called them in the presentation of this video? And what is your favorite release by the band? Are you even aware that Sabbath exists, or do you confound them with the homonymous band from Britain, which had a couple of albums out in the mid-80s? Just feel free to let me know down in the comments. And as usual, till the next time, keep it loud and heavy.